Fantastic here, and welcome to First Day Biblical Discussion, episode 11. Woo! Woo! Okay, so welcome to episode 11, 1 1. Today is actually Father's Day, so happy Father Day to all the fathers out there, especially our heavenly spiritual father. A little bit of the rumble of the lightning above us. Today we're talking about the pedalization of women, specifically and especially in the faith, the damage that women can do to a man's life, irreparable damage, and some tips for vetting a potential woman slash potential wife in your life. Before we get that all started, we're going to start with the plugs. As always, I'm Arthur Fantastic. Arthur Fantastic on all social media. If you want to follow me, just look me up on IG. It's Arthur Fantastic 1K instead of IC. Holler. And that's also going to be the name of my other channel, which I do MMA, karate, jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling, and even some movie review content that you can also watch. And I'm separating them because getting some copyright strikes, getting some other strikes, bullying on mirroring another video on another channel that's still up. Needless to say, follow me, subscribe, comment below in the chat if you're here live, or in the comments if you are interested in just letting me know what you think, disagree, agree, anything. As always, behind the camera, um, there should be what? Oh, the Wi-Fi's on. We need to put the Wi-Fi on. Okay, there we go. Wi-Fi on. She's just waiting there, not letting me know that she needs the Wi-Fi. We need to check the sound because the sound sometimes is off. And um, let me know when you get there. As always, behind the screen, behind the camera, is my beloved missing rib. I don't even know if we even use that talking point, missing rib. My wife, Caramel the Sauce on IG. She's making sure that the chat, everything is going good, the sound, the stream, and she posts submissive wife content on Instagram. Caramel the Sauce, once again, if you would like to check out her content. Sound is good. I'm getting the thumbs up. Last but not least, the mission here on the Golden Ruffian channel is to get. Let me put this on Do Not Disturb before I get like calls and messages all of a sudden. Get a community together here in the internet, but then have it an actual physical community constructed with other people. Now, it doesn't have to be. A lot of people are on this wavelength, and I'm going to take maybe a couple minutes just for the rest of this plug. The intro shouldn't go past 6 minutes, so just stick with me if you're here live or you're watching this in review. A lot of people are on this idea of I need a house, I need all these materialistic, unnecessary things that we've been inculcated and taught all our lives that we needed. Is it true that we need these? The house market is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, what it costs to buy a house is nowhere near what my parents, my parents' parents would have to pay. Okay, and they could work a part-time job, pay off a house, and own it in their lifetime. And we're talking about minimum wage. You work minimum wage today, you are not owning anything, and you will like it, just as the Economic Forum has told us. World Economic Forum, which was just declared a terrorist group here in Florida. So Florida's still doing good shit sometimes. But what you really need is a marriage that facilitates a family, and that needs to be founded on biblical principles, that is the commandments of God, which discuss what is wrong and what is right in God's eyes, and we don't get to choose. When we get to choose what's wrong and right, we have bought into the lie that Satan sold Eve in the garden, that we can know good or evil. We don't. God knows, and we follow him. So the plan and goal is to start a physical community where we live together under these biblical values, supporting one another, you know what I mean, and owning our own shit, building our own shit. Whether you want to live in a start in a car, or live in a tent, or live in an RV, or a fifth wheel, or a shipping container, or a tiny home, all that's acceptable when you own the land and you know the people around you. When there is an HOA and everybody's looking in on what you need, just give it a second before you step out. And it's integral to the literal message of the Bible and standard, where this is all happening within a community, ecclesia, a kahal in Hebrew, ecclesia in Greek, or a church in English. And a church is a community. It's not just that building. So I've gone 30 seconds over. I'm about to finish up here. The whole goal is to get a community together that lives with the lens of the Bible, to determine what we can and cannot do. And there's a lot of freedom, but unfortunately, no one even knows the law to even know in the first place. And they'll conflate it, as I said many times on this channel, with the Jewish man-made traditions, or the man-made traditions of their particular sect or denomination, like a bank or church. That being said, I have the subscribe star in the description below. If you want to get a $5, that's just like become a member. You letting me know that you're serious. You can be a part of the discussion there. There will be higher tiers if you want to donate to the channel as well. We've got a Ko-Fi. It's like buying me a coffee, which I'm also going to probably start soon. I keep saying that in the live. Where you just donate a little bit of money, and that goes to us for whatever. It's going to go directly to these videos. It's going to go directly to starting a community and accomplishing the things that we're trying to accomplish here. And we thank God. Hallelujah. We thank Yah for giving us this chance on this platform, and we thank you for listening. And we're going to begin now with the first... I'm saying a lot. I don't want to keep saying Before I go on, is there anything that I missed plugging? Did I not plug anything?
No, I believe you plugged in everything that was necessary. I don't believe you missed anything to plug in.
Okay. Do you want to step out? And then I know it's about to be raining, so don't be stuck out there in the rain, okay, baby? Be careful. You're doing it like a secret spy. I love you. Okay. Thank you for being so elegant and silent. Like the mic would have been fine. All right, everybody. So the first subject of the day is this: the pedestalization of women, especially in the church. And this is a long time coming. This isn't something that just happened in modernity, or modernity's rewriting of history, of what history is like. This isn't coming from chivalry, all right, which is nothing like what we think of chivalry. Is nothing like the chivalry that actually existed in their time, and most people were not chivalrous in their time either. And it's something that people don't understand, that people who have a code at least are trying, right? But it doesn't guarantee that all the people that say that they're trying are doing it. And that says nothing about the society, the greater society, okay? Most of society was not trying to be chivalrous, okay? And chivalry is nothing like what we see it as today. There and all of the assumptions that are made to, or like presupposed by society, that is then adding this idea of chivalry, is also missing from modern society. And that's why we don't understand it. Women want men to be chivalrous, but they are in no way a lady or traditional or conservative or living a chival. If like the if the equivalent is to be a lady, and while a man is to be a gentleman, the equivalent is not happening. The woman is not living ladylike. I know I'm just trying to reiterate that the modern woman is sarcastic. They are conflicting, they're combative, they're contentious, which the Bible says in Proverbs 21:19, I think, that it is better to live in a not in, on the corner of a roof than to live with a contentious woman. Okay, so nothing about the modern woman is what the chivalrous man was expecting. Okay, and even today, when we see the traditional man wants the traditional values in a woman, and women want the traditional values in a man, the man can, for a good, may not check all the boxes, but he overall, most men will want to be what a gentleman was historically. But what a woman sees when she sees a traditional woman and its values, they think slavery. They think marriage is slavery. They think of oppression and patriarchy as a negative thing, as a negative, oppressive, domineering thing, as opposed to a orderly, in role and in line with the Bible, um, protective and secure system for not just the men, but for women and children. Okay, the patriarchy is in place to protect, provide, and ensure the safety of women and children, and to some extent men. Though men are the majority of men that work the most dangerous jobs and are the majority of deaths and the majority of suicides and the majority of overdoses and the majority of assault victims and murder victims. So there's a level of, we know that there is evil in this world, and we'll try and put together our best, by our best effort, a system that will put ourselves in front of the women and children to the best of our ability so we can protect them. And that's essentially what's ordered in the Bible, but it's way more specific, and there's a lot less of this bullshit that we have in the modern era and in most countries. There's all this extra, gotta add, gotta add. Oh, what happens if somebody's offended by this, and what happens if this, and all these arbitrary rules. We go all over in this channel. I don't want it to digress too long on this subject. So that all being said of what chivalry, what men expect today, what they don't get, and what the women still expect. The only way for that then to work, after all of this feminization, the effeminate church, the destruction of the nuclear family marriage, the hierarchy of men, the leadership, the respect toward men and what they sacrifice, not only by with themselves, but the entirety of civilization and as a whole sacrifice. Instead of any of that being, you know what, we should also value men, okay, as much as women are innately valued and protected and acknowledged. No, instead of all of those reasonable, logical, loving, and considerate paths forward, instead we have chosen to pedestalize women. Women are now goddesses, question mark, goddesses. They are saints. We have to believe all of them. And I'm just going to rattle off a couple points. We have to believe all of them. They are oppressed. They aren't being paid the same, which they are. They just make different decisions. The metrics on what was compared in the pay gap was mostly full-time men versus full-time women. Would have been different. Oop, we got some movement with the camera. I'm sorry, guys. there was no discerning of like full-time, but it was just all women, all men, and that doesn't really take on all the factors that affect any at any given point what a person makes. Like men, the decisions they make also affect it. Like men take less time off, they take less 6 days, they're more likely to take more extra time. And so that's why men, when using this um misleading statistic, you can easily lie with statistics. Ask Bill Gates or the book How to Lie with Statistics, which Bill Gates has notoriously been seen in owning on screen during his interviews. Like, man, this guy's such a fucking genius that he can't even hide the book that teaches him how to lie about the things that he's talking about. Anyway, thank you, Caramel Waifu, in the chat. Thank you for the comments and the hearts. That is Caramel the Sauce over here. And anytime you guys want to talk to me on the chat, just go ahead and chat me up questions. I will get to them as soon as possible at a time where I'm breaking in what I'm talking about and we'll address what anyone asks. This pedestalization of like, okay, women can't do anything wrong, women can't abuse men, women aren't liars, and they're not like players, and they don't like believe all women is to say that women don't lie. Okay, that is the equivalent. You have to believe all women because all women tell the truth. They're saints, and in fact, to many men, they're goddesses. Are women goddesses in the Bible? They are human. Are men gods in the Bible? They are human. There is a term there that one day we may be Elohim, which is to be spiritual beings of some degree. I'm not going to try to speculate and use conjecture, because the Bible is somewhat vague on some topics, and that is something that maybe I can never not even comprehend, and that's why I'm not even told. So I here will then just have faith. What does it say in the Bible about God? God is God. Women are not goddesses, but in the mind of even the Christians, that is the elect, as some may call the believers, the body of Christ, women are goddesses. I mean, very, very firm example that maybe some of my Catholic viewers and may not agree with, as I used to be Catholic for 28 years of my life. There is in my opinion, a very thin and distinct line in worship and honoring, okay? And the Catholic Church crossed that line a long time ago in relation to the Virgin Mary, okay? So, in this particular microcosm, where I mean, Catholics are actually a big portion of the population. They see this, because sometimes you ask your dad for something and he says no, but you can go to your mom and your mom will get into the ear of the father, or your mom will just do it. I mean, how is that not making the Virgin Mary a mother goddess? Okay, you say I said the rosary thousands of times, thousands. You say 10 Hail Marys for every one Our Father, then you say 3, and then the one, and then you might say the Divine Mercy, and then you might say Novena, and then but all those are extra Hail Marys, in addition to venerating and giving all this honor and superlatives to Virgin Mary, who does not have that in the Bible. What kind of culture does that make? Well, in my opinion, as I have talked about on this channel with the discussion with Trent Horn and Pearl, and the discussion with Michael Knowles and Pearl, is they've created an effeminate, cucked church where you can't even divorce your wife when she's fucking another guy in front of you and having another man's child. Literally Go check the Michael Knowles video. He literally says this. Okay? There's no, you can't divorce your wife. Okay? Is that what the Bible says? Deuteronomy 24 does not say that. Jesus does not say that. He definitely says, except for immorality, you can't divorce your wife for any reason, as being asked. That's the question. For any reason. Can I put away my wife for any reason? And he's like, no, this wasn't the way in the beginning. No, of course not. Because in Deuteronomy 24, if there is some uncleanness, this being a specifically sexual in nature, it doesn't mean that we have to make sexual contact for it to be sexually immoral. That's another misconception, okay? Sexual immorality is more than just, okay? There are ways to flirt, imply, make plans. That's all cheating, okay? Anyway, before I go more off point here, discussing the idea of what is or is not right of in divorce, which I have discussed on this channel before, in said Michael Knowles videos, and even in the Trent Horn video, which I would definitely recommend you guys watch. The pedestalization, which exists very overtly in the Catholic Church, does exist in many cases in the different other denominations. Another key example is obviously the Orthodox, who are basically an even more Gnostic Catholic church. Though I respect Orthodox bros. I respect trad cath bros. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm just going to point out what the fuck is a problem here, because where does the pedalization begin in the Christian faith? Like, where it begins in the secular world is kind of like something maybe we'll get to in a moment, because it's obviously so, I don't know if it's is the word ubiquitous, where it's just like everybody knows, okay, that everything is fucking sexualized, from fucking breastfeeding to every ad, video game ads, cartoons, movies, TV shows, books, newspaper articles, newspaper ads on your Instagram, ads on your Facebook. And then what happens is that people are themselves like, oh wow, well, sex sells. Well, I'm gonna sexualize myself, and then they get the attention. Like, duh, like we all fucking know that. I don't really have to go that into it later. You know what I mean? I just went through it. But what is the catalyst? What is the beginning in the Christian faith of this pedalization? Well, I would argue in some case it would be the pedalization of the Virgin Mary, who is now Theotokos, the mother of God. Well, God himself, the Father, doesn't have a mother. But Jesus, Yahushua, the incarnation, he had a mother. But did that mean that she is the beginning of the Word? Or did the Word exist in the beginning? And if they existed in the beginning, and Jesus is the Word, then she's not the mother of the Word, God. She's the mother of Yahushua, Jesus. And people want to argue, oh, well, early church, they're calling her Theotokos and God bearer. I don't fucking care. I don't care. I care that about the Virgin Mary. I don't care about these extra superlatives and titles and importance that the church fathers, so-called, are giving to the Virgin Mary. Her importance is her importance. The important, central, underlying, all important, all pointing to subject of the Bible is God. So we have this idolization of Mary. There's that, right? Then there is the idolization of what we said earlier, chivalry. But chivalry, as I said, the definition has shifted, and it is only one-sided. It's men giving particular traditional conservative treatment to women, and men receiving nothing in return. They don't receive a traditional wife. They don't receive a woman that's ladylike. They don't even receive a woman who conducted their life like a lady. Okay? And that idolization of what they think is chivalry from the knights, which it isn't, and then superimposing it on what a Christian man is supposed to do, while part another part of why this is happening, part three, the effeminization or the feminization and the infiltration of feminism into the church has now put women in a position where they are above men, where all of the secular, like, I'm afraid of saying this about women, you know what I mean, like all the things that it says in the Bible about the headship of a man. Give it a, hey, Alicia Burst, thank you for the support. Give us a like in the top right corner there. All the organizational statutes and discussion that it has in the Bible is being subverted and literally inverted, which is what the adversary, Satan, the devil, does. And now we have women in headship, women in leadership roles, women being pedestalized above where, you know, they're supposed to be, even to the point of being above God. Now Mary's the mother of God. Okay. Now we can go up and down the list of things that have contributed to what women are seen as now, but it's mostly New Age, pagan witchcraft, and the assimilation of pagan bullshit into the faith. We have this also, just one more point before I move on and start giving some examples of where this error is happening in real life. What was this last point? Sex is like, and to Catholics, for me, I mean, some Catholics, for a majority of Catholics, for a lot of Christians in general, it has become this, like, a sin. Like, sex is a sin, as opposed to God said more than once. He said it to more than one person too. He said it to, you know, a number of couples, some of them being polygynous with multiple wives. And he said, be fruitful and multiply. Okay? He didn't tell people to sin. God does not tell people to sin. Okay? Now, people then start talking about Paul and the New Testament, and they might think that, well, God changed his mind. God didn't change his mind. God didn't change his plan. God didn't change how things work in this world. And Kevin Samuels said one time, some people become so heavenly minded that they become useless on earth. They have forgotten and interpret the Bible in a Gnostic way, where this is like our nefesh, our body, which is what is sometimes, which is not just our body, it's our throat, it's our entire being, is equated to, like, we're in English it might be called soul, you know what I mean, which is a Greek term, right? But it's our entire body. He gives us this body, but the Gnostics are like, oh no, like, our bodies are corrupt and our souls are just trapped inside. Okay. And my friend Red Channels here on YouTube, which I've recommended several times on this channel, he does great work. Red Channels, he's discussed about this Gnostic undertones of a lot of the modern Christianity, which I've discussed many times too, which is like, it becomes prudish and, like, ashamed of the normal things that God designed us to want. And they'll try to quote Paul, which, again, trying to use scripture to contradict other scripture, which is already like, what are you doing? They're in agreement. Paul agrees with God. Paul is talking about in particular 1 Corinthians 7, that because there's so, I wish that people could be like me, but because there's so much sexual immorality, a man should have a wife and a woman should have a husband. And it also says, once again, like, you wishes people could be like it, but if you have the passion, it's better to marry than burn in the passion. If anybody has that, likes the other sex, if they like sex, which is the majority of people, okay? And then some people are like, oh, well, I'm not, maybe this person's not, some people are not marriage material. Well, that's fucking, it's time to fucking get better then. That's why we have the law and instructions on how to be in concordance with God, to love him. If you love me, keep my commandments, he says throughout the Bible, beginning in Exodus, ending in John, saying the same thing over and over again. If you love me, keep my commandments. So if you love him, you keep his commandments. If you love your neighbor, you'll treat them by the same righteous and just and fair and ethically and morally perfect law. They'll treat others by that same standard. And that the very call to love God with all your mind, heart, and soul or power is Deuteronomy 6:5, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself is Leviticus 19:18. These are law called for, like law dictated by God, proclaimed by God, and called for by God already. Okay, and Jesus is just speaking his Father's doctrine, right? John 7:16. I speak not my own doctrine, but the doctrine of my Father. So when people try to then use the New Testament to somehow contradict the Old Testament, they have completely jumped the shark and completely missed the mark. Okay, that's not how that happens. The what happens is that we as believers realize, oh, okay, we are living in sin. We need Jesus. Okay, that's for some. Not all believers come to this how they get there. You know what I mean? But they realize they need Jesus. They need the blood of Jesus because we are all guilty by the law, and there's no more sacrifices in the temple, right? And so Jesus is our final sacrifice once and for all for sin. And though we are supposed to live as living sacrifices, right? Live our lives as living sacrifices, which also contributes to the same idea that when people are saying, oh, well, maybe if you're a believer, your entire life is to be getting in line with God, okay? And that will make you a marriageable person. And if you are not a marriageable person still, then maybe you should reassess what you think being a person of God is. All these Christians, well, some Christians aren't marriageable. Well, then maybe they aren't real fucking Christians. He who does not keep, who says I know him, but does not keep the commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. 1 John 2. That isn't a mistake on behalf of the author of John. That is a definitive statement where he also says, one chapter later, sin is breaking the law. In fact, sin is lawlessness, to be without the law, which is exactly Peter warns in 2 Peter 3:3 about the error of the lawless, of people who are ignorant or mentally unstable, who are trying to specifically interpret Paul. Okay? Ignorant of what? Ignorant of the law. Mentally unstable to twist what? Twist the law. And unfortunately, a lot of modern theology is about twisting the law. And so that's the whole last point of being moving away from a biblical view of what sex is, which is not a sin when you're having sex with your wife, and sex is not in itself sinful or corrupt. God literally made us to have sex, gave us the parts. That would be ridiculous to give us the parts that are literally made to fucking be corrupt and then tell us to be fruitful and multiply over and over again. That would be a contradictory not God. It would be a non-God. And therefore the idea of this, which is the undertones is Gnostic, is erroneous, fallacious. Oh, and guys, if you're in the video, if you're watching, go ahead and hit the like. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, drop a question in the chat below. Um, those are the major points, right, of what is causing the pedalization. You know what I mean? It's like this weird view of sex, which is obviously unbiblical and totally contradicts the law. The overt pedalization of the Virgin Mary, the idolization of so-called chivalry, which is not chivalry at all, and does not have any kind of expectation of the. We good over there? Okay. Not some kind of expectation of the woman, where rather it's one way. And I'll have to go back about the other points because I want to keep moving on and not dwell too much, because we have so many examples of this happen. Obviously, to the average man, examples of them pedestalizing a woman and then it resulting in major damage, which we're going to transition into that subject, the damage women can do. And before I get into the examples, which will help me transition into the next subject, do you have anything about the pedalization of women? I feel like you do have some thoughts on here, and you've said so many succinct things in the past. Wow, don't drop that bottle of glass. And yeah, just what are your thoughts, baby? You have so many good thoughts on this.
Well, it does seem to like it does really disrupt the proper function of relationships between men and women.
Specifically marriage, yeah.
Yeah, specifically marriages and for dating. You know, if women are
Dating, we don't even
dating, right? Courting,
Courting.
and inventing,
vetting.
I'm sorry,
Vetting.
and vetting.
Yes.
Because women are going about having this mindset thinking because society is telling them, and if society is telling them along with their church and their pastors,
Everybody's blowing their head up. I see what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah, good point.
then they're gonna go about thinking that they need to be that type of woman, and it's no one is properly teaching women nowadays. It's a very small number of sisters actually holding each other accountable from older to younger, and but it's less likely because um, it's all festered on man hating and pedestalizing the woman.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't bring that up. Okay, good point.
Um, and it's all from the beginning, from like within the garden. It's it's just it's all to shift the woman against the man, and
Wow.
to put the relationship and the dynamic of a marriage upside down.
Wow, you made a really good point that this is essentially, ultimately, and why we talk about it on the stream, on this channel, on our IGs, is this is a significant battlefront in the spiritual war between the adversary and God and his people. Okay? The adversary on one side and his minions and agents of disorder, and God and his people. From the very beginning, you're saying Satan is trying, the serpent, which is likened to Satan, or rather is identified as Satan in the New Testament, is turning man and woman against each other, specifically the woman against the man, usurping the man's authority. And then the man, though he didn't say yes, he loves the woman, he knows the consequences, and he does it anyway because he loves her. And that is not only an example of the woman leading the man, it's an example of love, once again, which is another key underlying motif, structure, pattern underneath all of the narrative that's happening in the Bible. It's love. right? And that's why talking about the pedestalization of women is not to demean women, not to attack women, but to put things back in order the way that God wants so that there can be love. There will be no love when things are not in order with God. I mean, that's as simple as that fucking gets. Like, you can think that you're in love, not being in order with God, but it's actually self love. It's narcissism. It's loving your own way. That's Satanism. It's Luciferianism. It's trying to upturn this image of what it's supposed to be like, unless you're in line with the Bible, God's word. He's given us a standard. Torah means instructions. God gave us an instruction manual to our life, and people don't even fucking want to read it. In fact, many Christian sects throw it out. So when we talk about this overarching strategy to subvert and invert God's plan, it's as blatant as you can possibly make it in the Bible if you're willing to read it and see it. Okay, people are just reading the stories and they're like, what do I get from this? What do I get from this? But it's more than just reading the little. You read Lord of the Rings, it's not just about each individual story. God is the ultimate author, so of course this book is going to be the ultimate layered book. And among those things is love. And among those things is revealing the plan of the enemy. And it's like the enemy isn't like, not even like sneaky about it in the Bible. It's just like overt. I'm trying to subvert and invert your plan. I'm going to offer Jesus, who owns all the earth, the entire earth. And it's a temptation because he does own the earth. He owns all the kingdoms. I'll give you all this. When we but God is way more tricky, way more perfect and humble. And his plan, though some people are not understanding it, if you just once again read the Bible with trying to understand his plan of having a family that's Israel and then living and loving him, you know what I mean, being a bride, being his people, being his children, okay? All those involve love, okay? And that involves a number of things. And none of those things are in line with the pedestalization of women, okay? So, you had said something about what this was specifically doing, what women specifically are now doing. Man-hating.
Underlying being man-hating.
There's this like underlying man-hate, not only in secular society, but even in the church. It's constantly underlying, sarcastic, snarky, passive-aggressive, like demeaning to men, which is
Regina George.
Like Regina George. Wow, were you watching the video I was watching earlier?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. and you know what I mean, like this Michelle Rodriguez, like not when she's being soft with them, when she's being all fucking sarcastic and this, that, and the other thing, which is that's a Fast and Furious reference. So with that, what's that movie from? Mean Girls. So Mean Girls reference in a Fast and Furious map. That should handle about 99% of all basic bitches and basic dudes, bros. And we should all know what the fuck is going on. But the thing is, this man hate, this sarcastic, like underlying, like snarky bullshit. Who was they saying that? That was the other guy at. It wasn't Michael Knowles. Matt Walsh. It was Matt Walsh discussing what men just find off-putting, which I would have to agree. The sarcasm, like, it's not a personality. Oh, I'm fluent in sarcasm. You're fluent in bullshit. You're fluent in not saying the truth. You're fluent in being incredulous. You're fluent in not just saying what the fuck it is. Why is that a fucking flex? I'm able to fucking not say what it is and be like snarky. You like, I say sarcastic shit. It's a rhetorical device. Totally understand. But people who fucking like base their entire persona on sarcasm are insufferable cunts, and that goes for men too. Men get punched in the face and they stop being that way, or they go and become little fucking troll incels that don't leave their home. Look at me. I talk mad shit. I'm very blunt. But people like me in fucking person. I'm not an asshole to them. I'm not snarky. I have my own thoughts, and I respect other people's thoughts. And when you respect other people, they usually respect you. But unfortunately, that can go for individual to individual level, but on a societal level, society and every other fucking religion hates fucking Christianity. Society itself is literally trying to ban Christianity, so-called, or the way, or the not the believers being the Nazarene, or aka Nazarenes in the Greek transliteration. This whole fucking issue is just a snake eating its tail of issues, okay? Where the problem began, and it's just going to keep eating itself and evolving and getting bigger as it just fucking continues down this line. It can never fully eat itself. It is an ongoing feeding itself issue that is snowballing over time. And people need to fucking put their foot down. But as I've talked on this channel, men are leaving the church. The majority of the church is women. That's why the majority of what is being taught in the church is feminized, because the majority of who is giving money in the church is women. And it's already been effeminized by celibate, weak-wristed, monastic, ascetic movements of millennia ago. Why? Because we can't fucking read the Bible for ourselves and have some fucking balls to stand on it. So, any last thoughts? You were fucking rattling them off, so you might have more. And if you do, then I'll fucking discuss those as well.
No, that was all.
Okay, that was all. And the double. You're shooting me. Double finger guns. Okay. Once again, give us a like, give us a follow, drop a comment if you're here in the chat. Instagram, IG, Arthur Fantastic 1K instead of IC, holler. Subscribe star in the description below. Backup channel, BitChute, all there below. Ko-Fi if you want to donate. Now I'm going to start to transition into the damage that women can do to a man, not only to his reputation, but a man's reputation is directly connected to what he can accomplish in his life. Prime example is Deontay Wilder, former heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, making millions and millions of dollars per fight. Okay? And yes, it is a brutal sport. People put their bodies on the line, and there may be serious consequences for fighting in such a sport, unfortunately. Especially with how much pressure and wear and tear we have to put on our bodies as fighters. That all being said, Deontay Wilder lost his last fight, and now his wife is looking to divorce him. Woo! Why? Well. Now it's because he abuses her. Don't you notice? Isn't it interesting that all these allegations of abuse come up when a woman wants divorce? Oh, whoa! It's like women are manipulative, lying, vindictive bitches sometimes. And we have a system that wants all the juice, no understanding given to the man, because it's the Duluth model, despite the Duluth model itself showing, rather the statistics under the Duluth model, that the majority of abuse is mutually combative, which is both people are involved, and the remainder of one-way abuse is overwhelmingly women against men. That's because of the modern model today. Is anything done by it? Of course not. But of course, oh well, this guy's been abusing his wife. He's been abusing his wife. Even if that were true, even if that were true, where the fuck does it say that that's not allowed in the fucking Bible? I'll ask you, because all these people are like, you have people that can fucking abuse a man, do whatever the fuck they want to do with a man, cheat on a man, lie on a man, fucking now accuse him of fucking being abusive, fucking take half of what you did not add to. You were this woman was fucking one of his friends, it comes out, one of another boxer who is not as good, for free, not married to him, just fucking this dude. Deontay Wilder took her out of the streets, raised her up many levels, fucking basically put a crown on her head, put her on a pedestal. And now she wants half of all this and the kids, and she wants to maybe even put him in jail for being an abuser. Whoa, what the fuck? If things get to the level, because men ain't going around beating women for no fucking reason. Let's get that fucking straight. Deontay Wilder, multi-millionaire boxer, ain't going around and just beating his wife because she didn't fucking cook the roast right. She might have been even cheating on him. Who knows? Okay, that's what a lot of these trophy wives are doing. Obviously, I don't know anything about Deontay Wilder. I won't speak to him. I've never heard about him being with another woman while he's been with his woman. I haven't looked into it that deeply, though. So for those who are more inclined, drop a comment in the comments. But other dudes have been are like wild about it. Women know what the fucking deal is when you're dating a famous man. You could go on the road with him. You could be with him every time that he goes on the road to his games, his travel games, his fights, his whatever these top competitive competing in some way, whether it's like fucking video games or fighting or fucking sports or whatever, sailing, gambling. Like you could be there, but you're not, because you just want the cush life that it provides. And a lot of these women are also cheating. And this is this idea that they're stealing from the 50s, 1940s, stay-at-home mom, fucking just homemake, which was never the case. Women always had a hustle on the side, always trying to add to the house. That's what the Bible says they should be doing. And all they do is just get their nails done and their hair did and buy all this stuff and look famous. And it's just fucking ridiculous. And now, after all that, after he taking her off the streets, she's not from any kind of money or fame or any accolades or accomplishments for herself. She wants half. Why did that happen? Because he took a woman off the street, pedestalized her, okay, and society gassed her up, saw a beautiful woman. She's of a very high attractive level, okay? And that attention, if not tempered by the biblical values and standards, once again, of how to be a biblical woman, it's only a matter of time until you just make that deal. It's only a matter of time. Why people don't make that deal with the adversary is because they know the adversary is the father of lies. Some people don't even believe the adversary exists. Okay? Some people don't even think there's anything wrong with divorcing your husband. Where does it say that a woman can divorce their husband in the Bible, by the way? Where does it say you're not allowed to correct your wife? Are you also not allowed to correct your children? See, the Bible wants you to teach and love your children And they also want you to teach and love your wife. That comes with correction. That comes with correction to whatever extent the authority decides it to be. But we are now in this modernity, already feminized, integrated with feminism, not tradition, not the biblical view. Like, if you don't fucking act out, like, this whole fucking idea that men just do the crazy shit for no fucking reason, I need to hammer this home, it's fucking ridiculous. And there's nothing like that in the Bible. So this is all just ridiculous, red herring, gaslighting fiction that's been superimposed on reality. So you've got Tom Brady. Okay? You got Tom Brady, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Christian man, so-called, of a conservative values, who's won Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl, millions upon millions of dollars. He marries this woman. He even allows her to put, like, hoodoo, voodoo fucking god totems in his goddamn fucking locker. This Christian man allows him to do this, allows her to do this witchcraft shit. And she gives him, he gives her children and a lifestyle. And she's mad that he continues to be the fucking best of all time, to continue doing what he loves. What in the fuck? And she leaves him for a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I totally get it. But she left him for her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor? She left Tom fucking Brady for a dude that just teaches Jiu-Jitsu at a Jiu-Jitsu school? What the fuck? Now she's the world's fastest purple belt, by the way. That's an ongoing meme in the BJJ community. She's a meme in the BJJ community. This is just like I just saw a video of this young couple, and it's just like, this isn't like a one-off thing, right? It was this young pregnant girl and this young guy, and they're both young, and this is their second child. He's like 20. I forget how old. I didn't see her age on the screen. And she's like, well, he's not. What, you know, he goes off and works all day, and then when he gets home, he doesn't want to help with anything. He wants to relax because he's been fucking working all day. He won't help me with the cooking. It's like, what the fuck is going on? This guy he's the one that's working. She's not. Like, maybe she should get a job too, and then maybe it wouldn't be so much weight on his shoulders. Oh wait, she's pregnant with another child. So maybe fucking give this guy some fucking slack. No, and he starts to fucking literally cry. This young man. I feel sorry for that. You shouldn't cry in front of your woman. And she doesn't fucking care. Her face, and I'm gonna be doing a video on this soon. I just downloaded the video. Her face isn't like, oh, wow, there's so much pressure on my husband's shoulders, or, oh wow, he's really hurting. She's just like, it's an eye roll. That's what society has for men and their pain. The eye roll. Okay? And listen, even if you get a good woman, you're gonna get an eye roll. You just gotta tell them not to fucking do it. Like, I see you. Don't fucking roll your eyes at me. Just as, like, you don't want your children to roll your eyes at you, then that means that you're going to have to tell your children, don't roll your eyes. It's the same with your wife. You're going to have to tell your wife, don't roll your eyes at me. But that's what she had for his sobbing pain. Sobbing pain was that. Literally that. I just did the entire movie. And you'll see it in the video if you watch it and subscribe to this channel. Is your phone dead or something? You need to go? What's going on?
No, the timer did go off.
You need to go? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Moving the light. Moving the light. Look at them. Look at them legs. That's why we do squats. Okay. So, And it's like women don't have to in any fucking way have to identify with what the man's going through. They don't need to. There's no point for them. That is only because that only benefits the man, right? No, it benefits the children because they'll have a father around instead of a man who leaves because they don't want to fucking deal with that shit. Because every man has his fucking breaking point. But it also helps the relationship that you care and show some fucking consideration. Okay? It's like selfish. It's like, oh well, I need more. Yeah, he wants to spend more time with you. Unfortunately, he has to break his fucking back to fucking provide for both of you. And unfortunately, that's the position that you're in, and that's what it's going to be. And you can only fucking help, and you can only fucking be excited to be when your husband's home, and try to do something with him. Not try to, when he gets home, give him more fucking shit to do. Unfortunately, there's no fucking recognition of these type of things in modern women's talking points. If you talk about these things as a modern woman, you're a pick me. That's what Pearl is. Oh, loving your husband. And I follow a ton of these creators. Unfortunately, a lot of them are trying to be pastors in some shape or form. They're teaching on the Bible, and they teach it many, many times. And every time I try to reach out and correct them, and unfortunately have to publicly embarrass them, they don't want to see what's wrong with them. And so that's just another manifestation of these women who don't understand accountability, being wrong, and just saying, "Hey, I'm wrong." Men say it all the time to other men. There are so many things that I have changed in my theology as a former Catholic, obviously, that I had to say, well, I was wrong, okay, for believing it, for letting other people tell me, for not questioning it, and so on and so forth. Women don't have that type of mentality generally today. Okay, it's possible that some women have it. My wife, there are some women out there that are reasonable, but overall, you're going to have a hard time unless you're using rhetoric, which is language that is emotional. We'll talk about that more when we're talking about vetting women. The damage that is being to all these men, right? Emotional for the last guy, okay? Financial and familial breaking, okay? Home wrecking of Tom Brady's wife. You know, they have a family, they have a home, they've been married for some time. Home wrecking, as well as financial and reputation destruction, as we saw with Deontay Wilder. These are all. This is not like a man can go on and still live a good life in certain but not without completely destroying himself. Okay. Okay. Completely. Women wonder why men are so jaded because of shit like this. A lot of men are going through it, and it's just not fucking on the news because you're not a fucking famous person. A lot of normal men are going through this, and it's not on that level of marriage, but it's just as dramatic. It's just as violent, even. I watched a video of a guy the woman dropped off this guy, and then she tried to hit him with the car 3 times, missing 3 times, and hitting something 3 times. And then she gets out of the car, chases him down, starts to beat him, and he defends himself. Finally. And that's okay. This is happening broad daylight in the middle of a neighborhood in the city. So like the hood in the neighborhood. It's only when he decides to hit her back that all of a sudden, hey, that's the first time anyone tries to stop the abuse. Not when someone was trying to kill the man with the car. Not when someone was trying, multiple times, 1, 2, 3 times. Not when someone was beating the man, but when the man defended himself and hit her and pushed her off. That's when, hey, it comes out. Oh my God, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Give this a like, guys. If you're in the chat room, if you're here watching the video live, give it a like, give it a comment down there. Let me know what's going on. If you don't know how to like, you go to the top corner here. Click the 3 buttons and click like. The issue goes on to something like That speaks once again to the absolute, if like, ridiculous chivalry, only caring about men, only women are protected by society. Talking points that I was saying earlier, like a man could be literally trying to be murdered in the street, and no one will step in until he decides to defend himself against a woman. Because, oh, you're a woman, you need to stand there and take it. Why? According to who? The Not the Bible, not anybody that's ever fucking rose up a child with any significant confidence or self-awareness. Oh, you just let somebody beat you. But not only is that what the fucking society is saying, now fucking people are saying, well, that's the Bible. The Bible says, defend yourself. It says turn the other cheek to a slap, not a murder, not a punch, not a stab, a slap. And after 2 slaps in ancient culture, you could strike back a person of higher rank. A person of higher class could just slap you, but they slap you twice. You can respond now. Go ahead, hit me again. I argue that the turn the other cheek is the first pull counter of all time. Well, pull counter being you put your cheek out, and then right as they hit you, you pull back and counter. The damage. Back to the topic. The damage is. This is only the tip of the iceberg. Once again, the majority, the overwhelming, the high over 60%, over 70%, if I'm not mistaken, of overdoses and suicides are men. Murder victims, assault victims, men. Majority. Why are men killing themselves? Why are so many men getting murdered? Why are so many men overdosing? Oh, they're just really addicted. They just like drugs a lot. There's no underlying causes of why a person might find themselves addicted to some kind of opioid. There is no soul rendering. I don't even like to use the word soul, but using rhetoric, gentlemen. Soul rendering hole in your fucking heart that requires God that you're trying to fill with, that has been tore asunder by women and bad experiences and life fucking not giving a shit about you as a man. Oh, I wonder why people would be chasing after these type of highs that you could completely disassociate with and feel good while doing so. We see so many examples of women killing their husbands. Dan Harmon, famous case, great man, according to everybody that was around him, funny guy, wife kills him. And I recall as a child hearing women say, oh, he was a bad man, he was abusive. What? Says who? No one. No one said that. Maybe the wife after she fucking murdered him. We see some of this type of absolute playing of the system, acting like we don't know that the wives did the murder or did the crime or the girlfriend. They get away with it. They get away with Casey Anthony. Will get away with children being murdered, and it's just an absolute fucking ridiculous thing that we know that is happening. Women don't get the same amount of time for the same crime as men. They don't get as many guilty charges. They're not. We know that there's lurking values of these women doing sex crimes. In fact, SA and rape that are not covered in any statistics because it's underreported, and women aren't held accountable for what they say, what they do. There's someone always there to save them, but that is not true for men. And these women will destroy men. They'll give hormone blockers to their children against their wishes, and turn their fucking children against their fathers. If the modern society is willing to turn people against strangers that they don't even know, like Dan Harmon, like who, of course they're going to try to turn their children against their husband who they don't fucking like. And that's society now. And what do? Nothing. Nothing. And the damage that a woman can do is irreparable. In many cases, these men kill themselves. These men fucking overdose. And what do we fucking get? What do we get for all the sacrifice that we make for the society? Like I said, maybe the things need to be different. Maybe the society needs to be in a different way. Maybe a community, once again, that lives and works in a different way is necessary to just even live by the standards that you want. Because if you're surrounded by people who don't give a fuck about your standards and give you contrary advice, that will only result in you weakening your resolve to do what you know and God says is right, as opposed to what man might feel and say is okay by their standards. Once you separate yourself from the standard, then you are on a slippery slope down, my friend. And that is a road of lawlessness toward the lawless one, who is the Antichrist, the lawless one, the man of sin. Sin is lawlessness. Sin is breaking the law. And that brings us to the next. That brings us to the next topic, where vetting women is important if you're going to be in the dating market, which is or the marriage market. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in the dating market. You want to go on dates. Date is like a courtship, and the courtship should be short. And then now you're my fucking wife. Okay, it shouldn't be long, and you shouldn't be playing games with these bitches, because these bitches just want. Some of these bitches are bitches, and some of these women are ladies, and you have to discern the difference. If you are just treating all women like bitches or treating all women like ladies, you're going to fucking not have a good time. You have to practice discernment. You have to have a system, and it has to be intuitive. It has to be logical and analytical, and most of all, it has to be practical. Some people get it twisted where they think that there's a soulmate out there from them. No such thing as a soulmate in the Bible. That's from Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Okay? That's nowhere in the Bible. Even the word soul doesn't exist, only in the translation. Okay? That's a Greek thought. That's a Platonist thought. When we see this, oh, I need a soulmate, I have to wait for the right one, and oh, this person might not be the right one, so I better not, I better hold out. This might not be the right one. I don't feel that this is the right one. It's not about feelings. It's about attraction, honor, duty. This hair in my face. Attraction, honor, duty. Fuck, that's it. It's about those three things. Marriage is about honor and duty. But finding a wife is also about being attracted to them, right? So that obviously is going to be important. And if you're going to be trying to find these women, you're going to need to vet them. And this, it has to be practical. God, you can make the wrong decision. You can marry the wrong person. If every marriage was ordained by God, then why is there so many divorces? These are practical decisions that you make an oath to God. People be breaking their oaths, by the way, making their vows. Till death to us part. Divorce, 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 divorce. Is it really till death do you part if you don't practice that? People taking and making vows to God and just breaking them. Woe unto the vow and oath breakers. Woe unto you. Read the law. Read the first 5 books and see what it says about oath breakers and making oaths. And then see what Jesus says about making oaths. Yahushua, Jesus. So the first issue of having to vet is that if you're going to have someone vet the woman in your life, it's going to have to be people who are obviously holding the standard of God. Now, this is going to be difficult for a lot of people, and if you're taking advice from people who do not hold the standard of God, you have to take it with a grain of salt, gentlemen. You're going to have to do, there's going to be a lot of prayer, a lot of reflection. You have to be making a practical choice. You can't ignore red flags. You denote them, but you don't use any one particular red flag as a determining factor. Okay, because people make mistakes. We've all had our own, like, unless you have been all your life a virgin and you've never been a degenerate, then you need to be merciful and gracious with your judgment here. That being said, you don't have to fucking stand these women who have fucking crazy body counts, crazy attitudes, no fucking respect, no loyalty, do weird, shady shit. Okay? Especially women who have done something in their past. It's not something you ignore. Okay? A woman is judged by their past, a woman judges a man by his future. And it's for a reason. The best advice that I can give is to pray, read the Bible, and practice discernment. Don't pedestalize the woman. Denote and be an investigator. Watch some fucking Monk. Watch some House. Watch some Columbo. Watch some fucking detective shows, Law and Order, whatever the fuck you want. And learn to ask questions. A good person to study and watch on how to ask the right questions is Kevin Samuels. His material is available here on the internet, especially on YouTube, proliferated to a large extent in the manosphere, Red Pill, etc. And I would advise you to take a good look at what he's asking. The questions need to be asked. Well, my last relationship was abusive. Oh, well, it's time to start pushing women with those questions, but you have to say the right way. You have to ask the right questions. Did you take it to the cops? Okay. Were you fighting him? What do you mean by abuse? Who ended the relationship? There are many, many questions. You know what I mean? Like, oh, so you didn't do anything so you were just you were a perfect woman, and you were just like absolutely respectful, and he would just come out of nowhere and just start beating the shit out of you. Is that what you're telling me? Now you can play that game, you can ask those questions, or you can fucking not. You can make the note in your mind and make probing questions later, or you can just on to the next one. The woman's not going to drop in your lap. You're going to have to go out and find her. You're going to have to use apps. You're going to have to use personal interactions. You're going to have to do sociable things. That being said, obviously these are, these are all reasonable, logical things. The vetting tips have to come with asking them if they believe in like the traditional values, and if the man, if you believe in following your husband, do you want to get married? Do you want, like, don't play these games with women that don't want to get married, that say they don't want to have children. It's like, fine, then I don't want to. You know what I mean? You got to be for real about these questions, and you got to think about it. It's just like chess. Fighting is just like chess. Chess is just like fighting. It's just like any strategy game. You have to come in with a strategy, and a strategy can involve some of the pickup artist stuff and some of that type of material. It can involve some of the love languages, psychology, all these other things. But eventually, you have to develop a sense Okay, you have to draw that sharpness from in your mind and develop it. Okay, not blades don't necessarily start or begin sharp, but you can sharpen them manually with a sharpening stone or a grindstone. And so your tactics of asking questions will develop. You have to be a personal person. Every man has to be a personable person. You have to work on being personable. There's no if you start talking about the spectrum and your Aspergers, whether they be McDonald's or Big Macs or Burger King Whoppers, whatever those Aspergers are, you're going to still have to deal with being a person who interacts with other people. And that might become easier to some people. There are videos on the internet here to read body language, how to be personable. There's a book that you can also read, How to Make Friends and Influence People, okay, by Dan Carnegie. Um, and it's this is not something that just happens like overnight. You're gonna have to develop. You're gonna have to go out there, meet people, talk to people. You know, if you're a believer, you should be fellowshipping with people every week, at least one time a week, right? Whether you be a believer that goes to church on Sunday or a person that celebrates the Sabbath, you should be doing something that is approaching some type of social interaction. Oh, we got a comment. I want everyone here to know that I am glad you were created. The world is a better place with you in it. Peace and love. Peace and love with you too, Jared Barker. Give us a like in the top right corner. That would also help. That would help a lot. Um, this idea of having a standard is also necessary. And what do you do there? Would you be able to? Okay. Uh, got my wife here. She's also always helping me behind here. You also have to have a standard. I know that many men are shamed for their standards. Oh, I like women to look this way. You know what I mean? And I think that there should be some type of spectrum. You can't just say I want a woman to be this way, because if a woman is really submissive and obedient, then you'll be able to shape her. You know what I'm saying? And I think that most men think that a large percentage of women are attractive, or at least attractive enough to have sex with. And so women, it's not men that are the problem. The problem is women are and this is important to vetting women, so this is why I'm going into it. Women are more interested in the top 20% of women. The 80, this is called hypergamy. 80% of women are interested in the top 20% of men. And historically, only 20% to 40% of men have their genetics move on, while like 60 to 80% of women's genetics have moved on. 80% of women's uh, uh, genetics have moved on. That's because one, or not one, but like 20% of dudes are having all the sex with very little in between, having some as well. So that being said, uh, there's got to be some things that you have to do to maximize your attractiveness levels. Once again, if you're in a community of believers that we're trying to create here, and you're among other believers, they're going to have more biblical values that are involved of being with a man, and that takes people dedicating and committing to that type of relationship, because the church is a voluntary thing, but it's also commitment. You know what I mean? Um, when we have this hypergamy issue, and it's historically always existed, and it also speaks to a level of polygamy and men not being monogamous, just like every other mammal on Earth. But it also goes to show that there needs to be order, with by God's word, to this system that he created. He created us this way for some reason, but there must be some type of order to construct on it that today we are not at all honoring. You know what I mean? Like men are essentially polygamous, women are essentially polygamous, where they're like dating multiple men. Already dated multiple men, and um, and they're dating men. It's a common story for women to date a married man or a man with already the girlfriend, or him have especially successful men. So what is there that we can do as believers, and how will that contribute to the vetting of a wife? Well, you can look at what the woman wants and what they're offering and how they treat you and respect you. And you can see if they're going to line up with a hypergamous woman or a woman that is loyal, not trying to trade up, but to try to create something. And that's also part of your job to excite them for being a part of this team, this project with a vision. So it's not just them, they need to be excited to be with every man that asks them out. You have to have some allure and attractiveness to you, both mentally, physically. If you are weak and weak wristed, I tell you, you need to go to the gym. I'm going to the gym today. I go to the gym multiple times a week. Me and my wife both go, and, ain't no fucking joke. And if I get another wife, they will also go to the gym with me and my wife whenever I fucking say. And so that's something that you need to begin now as a man, whether you're in a relationship or not a relationship, because it's key to your self confidence and just raising your attractive level generally. You know what I mean? In terms of health, the number one correlative metric that determines whether or not you survive a serious illness like cancer is muscle mass. Okay? People with more muscle mass are more likely to survive. The end. Solved. Okay? Fix your diet also, and maybe you can even avoid any of the big C's altogether. And that is another thing that we cover on this channel, the Levitical diet. Check that out. I'm going to do a more in-depth video on that soon, but I have small videos that have talked about Leviticus and not eating pork and the Levitical diet to some extent, and why that makes sense, especially even modern day. There's nothing's changed about the system that God has put in place and why they are there and why he gives and suggests such a thing. God doesn't give us arbitrary rules. He gives us rules because he loves us. He wants to protect us. He wants to be healthy. Go check that out. When discussing with women in this courtship, just the vetting process alone, what a woman is willing to do with you in this courtship process, and you can make this as clear as non-clear as you want. This is up to you, that this is a courtship. I'm trying to get married. Okay? All right? And you shouldn't be spending any money on any woman, especially any money of significant value, if you're not in a relationship with them. Okay? If you're not in a relationship with a woman, do not spend any significant, maybe a coffee, maybe setting a bad standard. She can go buy her own fucking coffee and meet with you if she wants to value your time. Okay? But, go on walks in the park, talk on the phone, meet up in person, have coffee, have a picnic. Okay, all right, we'll both bring something. I'll make some you make some sandwiches, I'll bring some drinks, or I'll bring some whatever the fuck, dude. Just fucking, you can. This is a way to impress a woman by showing that you can cook. And this gives her an opportunity to cook something for you as well. Go to the beach, go to a state park. These are like nothing costs. Like the gas, maybe to the beach if you're far away. I live in Florida. You can go to a lake if that's closer. State park, you know what I mean? A Springs, that's like $5 probably to enter most state parks. Like if they're expensive state parks, maybe like $10. You can even go camping. I don't know if there's a lot of women that want to go camping. And if a woman wants to go camping, they're trying to let you know. They ain't just trying to sleep in their own sleeping bag away from anybody in the middle of a scary night. Um, that's something for you to take and use with how you will. Hopefully, you meet your future wife. Um, there are tons of dates where you can go, or you can ask them to. You could go on a date. You want to go paintball and you want to, but they have to pay for themselves. If that's something you want, to go to an arcade. Women have literally even offered paying for me, okay, and my wife as I'm going on a date with them, considering them for a polygamous wife. Okay, so guys, you just set the standard. Just be confident about them. Set a standard. I'm not gonna pay for someone that isn't my fucking wife. I may offer if she's being a real good girl. You know what I'm saying? But until she's in a relationship with me, I don't want to fucking pay for nobody. You know what I'm saying? Nobody is just getting shit from me for free. And no one should get anything from you for free unless you're helping the needy. And this bitch ain't no needy bitch. Okay? She is just a normal person just like you. Okay. So there's one thing to help you vet women. And if they're not willing to stand up to that kind of standard, or they try to trick you into paying something, goodbye. I'm not your wallet. We're going to combine our resources. You work, I work. We're going to combine our resources. And there may be a time where you don't work because you have children, and maybe you never work again because you want to stay home with the children. But you'll have a hustle and you'll have to do something. But I'm willing to make that trade. If you're my wife, I ain't going to pay for you right now. I don't fucking even know you. So once again, that vetting tactic is do not pay for a woman that is not your wife. There's no reason. You do not have to impress her. If she needs to be impressed by your money, then she is probably just using you. And if she needs an explaining, then maybe she needs an explaining. You can give her a chance to understand it. There's a lot of women that have been raised in the wrong way, and the ways of hypergamy and using a man and get that money, get that cash, and oh, a man should pay. A man should pay for his wife. If a man paid for a woman before 1945, they would think that that woman was a prostitute. Giving a woman chocolate and taking her to dinners and getting hotels or whatever the fuck, they would think that's a prostitute. How times have changed, man. Not even 100 years ago. Could you imagine what it was like even before that? So we have that on the table. That will help you with the vetting. What are some other things that help us vet? Obviously, talk about the Bible. If they're not in line with the Bible, then I'm sorry. I mean, like, if they can't, you can excite them about the Bible. They may be a lukewarm believer, they may be pagan, they might be secular, but you can excite them with the Bible by saying, "I will teach you." This is like, and if they don't like it, I'm sorry. Then I don't have time to waste with you, because the person that I want to marry, and I want to even stick my dick in, has to at least be equally yoked with my God. Because if I put my dick in and that person gets pregnant, I'm stuck with that person. And we already know the irreparable damage that a woman can do to a man. That's what we already covered. So there has to be a lot of discussion of the Bible, and if people line up with the biblical standards. I was talking to some African women who were interested in polygamy, and they have like a bride price there, marriage contracts, which are actually very like close to what the biblical people did. They had marriage contracts and they had to do a certain amount of money, which is usually not a lot, you know what I mean? And it's negotiable, though the max is demanded of a man who had sex with a virgin who did not have a contract with the father, which is like 30 shekels. It's not always 30 shekels. Some people. Jacob traded 7 years of work, and a woman who's not a virgin is not going to expect as much money as well. And these women were not virgins, so they didn't expect as much. But the problem was they don't want to. They're living in a traditional African culture, but they do not want to stand to the standards that I'm setting down, because they have their own standard. It doesn't fucking matter. This usually happens with older women that are now waiting to get married and want to be a wife, and they're willing to do some submissive things, but they're still not computing some syntax error of why I should do X, Y, Z without fucking question. Or once it's been explained to me, like, why can't I do what I want? Because I'm your husband and I'm going to have to be willing to die for you. In the case of anything bad happening, I'm going to have to provide for you, and I'm going to have to provide for our children. And some of these women had children already, which would also drive down their price for a marriage contract, and it would also raise the problems that I have and responsibilities I have. So the woman should understand and even be more gracious and more grateful and understand the thing that is being offered is going to uh, be worth a lot to her. And if she doesn't treat it like it is worth a lot, she is not going to get it. And unfortunately, excuse me, many women they're not trying to appreciate it. They think they have negotiating power. They're not in the greatest of shape. They may have children. They may have an attitude. And these are things that you need to filter out. You can give them a chance. You can give them a warning. You're like, I don't fucking like how you're talking to me. I don't like how that is. Explain. This is where communication comes into very, very important. And it may take many times and many tries. And going into social situations, try writing. Try writing. Writing will help. Read. Identify with the characters in the Bible. How could they communicate better? How can you communicate? Like, what does God like? He likes good communication. He's the best communicator. The communication is very important. So you need to communicate these things to women. If you don't like something they do, you fucking tell them. You don't let them slide on it. If they don't like the correction, hit the bricks. Hit the bricks. That's another step of the vetting process. If you don't like something that a woman is doing, tell them right away. Right away. Do not wait. Let that be associated with how you feel. And use emotional language, aka rhetoric. You want to emote emotion from them. You want to take emotion. You want them to emote emotion and understand, because women understand emotion. That's their language, emotion. So I'm thinking, I don't like that. I think that's disrespect, and it makes me feel worthless. There's a very simple um, formula. This happens, or you do this, A. B, I think this, and then C, I feel this. That's how you communicate emotion. You made a joke. It made me feel less. It made me feel degraded. It made me feel not respected. And um, uh, and I feel shitty about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went right into feelings, right into thought. Like you said that I was dumb. I felt, I thought, man, that's disrespectful. She doesn't care about my feelings. She doesn't think that I'm smart, and that made me feel shitty. Okay, that made me feel sad. That made me feel hurt. Um, that made me feel alone. Whatever. That's how you communicate to a woman, and you need to communicate it as soon as possible when she does something that makes you feel that, or elicits that response, or does something that disrespects you. And you have to be on it all times. Okay? Can't let it slide. You gotta warn them every time. It doesn't have to be harsh every time. And that formula will help you definitely communicate your feelings. What happened, what you thought, how you felt about it. That will help your communication go from here to here. Okay? Even if you are calling yourself with Asperger's, whether it's Whoppers or Big Macs, or you say you're on the spectrum, you start communicating with, you did this, I thought this, and then I felt this. Okay? And then the other person needs to validate how you feel. They can talk about what you think, but how you feel is always valid. But what you're thinking may be wrong. And maybe they have to rethink what they said and what they did. And that's the point of communication. And if someone doesn't validate you after you even explained that they can't invalidate your emotions, then they don't give a fuck. Like, you can give them a chance. Once again, there's always that, I'm going to give you a chance. Listen, you just invalidated me. Do I invalidate your emotions? Well, I feel this way now. Well, you're invalidating my emotions with your emotions. Does that sound considerate, or does that sound selfish? I said that you did this, and it made me think this, and it made me feel this way. Do you care that it made me feel this way? They might be stubborn or angry. They might be like, yes. Okay, well, if it matters that I feel this way, then you have to understand that what I'm thinking is logical from what you did, and maybe what you did you shouldn't do again because I don't like it. You know, if there's something that you don't like, I'll validate your feelings and we'll talk about it. But don't invalidate my feelings. You can give everybody a chance to understand you. But once they start invalidating you and not listening, even when you have now upped your communication level, off. Next, there are so many women out there, and even they'll say there's not a lot of women out here in America, and that may be true. It really depends on the culture they're raised in, but I mean they're still in the American culture, so there are the effects of that, as well as social media. But there's women all across the world. You know what I mean? Passport bros ain't passport bros for no reason. They have success. And there's places like the Philippines where they don't even allow divorce, Dominican Republic where women want to get married, in South America where women are beautiful and they are not fucking, oh, I want to be a social influencer who gets all these likes and shows their body. No, they want to share it to their husband and have their children. Same thing in Africa, same thing in Asia, same thing in Europe, especially Eastern Europe, same thing in wherever you fuck you go. I guess Russia's part of Asia, right? So I mean, yeah, like fuck. Australia, there's women there too. You know what I mean? There might be westernized, effeminate bullshit there in Australia, but it's still there. And anywhere in between, where you go from the islands in Malaysia and Indonesia to India, there's women in every culture. Middle East, women in every culture and every faith, and they may be even willing to convert to their husband's faith, as that is a part of any traditional understanding that you have the faith of your husband. All that being said, these things need to come into play when you're vetting a woman, and if you are just letting the shit go, then you ain't really fucking playing the game correctly. You are doing yourself a disservice, and that disservice is going to end in heartbreak, irreparable damage, and the continuation of the pedalization of women. And unfortunately, we're at such a high point of the feminization and pedalization of women, that the feminization of the church and the pedalization of women, that these conversations are almost impossible to have with a Christian today. You have to have it on hushed terms and away from the public. But not here. We're going to try to have it here and in a public forum, as public as possible. And yeah, I mean, I think there are other things that you can do to vet, that you need to learn to vet your woman that might be your potential wife. Listening to the things that they say, which will, once again, I with 100% sincerity encourage you to watch Kevin Samuels, the work that he has done, whether it be in clips or full casts, and understanding the little lies and the little games that women play with their sign, insults, guilt, and the need to be right, and the things that they say but they don't mean, and they don't mean them, the way they do, whether with the face and their laugh, and the way that they play the games. And Kevin Samuels was really good at catching that, and those are the things you need to catch now. And later on in life, you're gonna be like, oh man, I can't believe I let these women do this and this and this and this to me. And I understand, but this is a part of the learning process. It's just like fighting, it's just like chess, it's just like any game, it's just like any sport, just like any job. You grind out the experience, you get to a higher level, and then you keep trying until you have the stats to accomplish your goal. Okay? And the equipment. Okay? And that equipment is not just physical armor, it's also the spiritual armor of God. It's what you have equipped your mind to be able to process and respond. Wit doesn't just come without the test of witty conversations and retorts and rebuttals. You're not gonna get good at debating by not watching debates and not debating yourself. All these things are developed, as well as flirting, as well as being in a relationship. It's a muscle. Kevin Samuels famously said the relationship is a muscle. You have to work on your relationships, and you have to work on your communication skills, and you have to call people out when they do shit that you don't like. Even your male friends, obviously, and that should be that might be a place to start. But obviously, you have to when you go into relationships, you have to set your boundaries. You have to let people know what you don't like, specifically the women, and you don't want to let them that shit slide because they're gonna do that shit worse and worse. Women are constantly testing you. You have to beat that test. You have to match that test, and then you have to teach them something that they didn't even know about themselves in the test that they were trying on you. Women don't understand the fucking depth of what men have to go through to have a real good relationship with a woman that's going to respect them. I have to not only pass any fucking test or shit test that a woman might, I have to teach them about themselves, about the test that they just try to fucking put on me. And unfortunately, that it is what it is. But in the fire, in the hottest of fires, the strongest of steel is made. Okay? And steel sharpens steel like iron sharpens iron in the Bible. And the only way that you're going to do it is by doing it. There are so men that are like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to refrain. I'm going to be celibate. I'm going to just wait until God sends this woman to me, just like the women do, which we have been talking ad infinitum on this channel lately, ad nauseum. Okay? Where women are just literally just waiting for a man to fall in their lap to marry them as if that's how it's going to work. But if you look at the West, that's not what's happening. In the UK, 50% of women are over the age of 30, no child, never been married, single. The same will happen by 2030 here in America. 50% of women will be over 30, single, and childless. That's what the future is bringing down the pipeline. So you've got to do what you got to do. And if it's not here in America, you got to go and you got to bring them back. Bring them to your culture. Don't fucking, these women, bring them into your life. Okay? You don't like their friends, tell them that they don't want to be a part of it, then you're out of my life. These friends doing this shit to you that was fucking, it's constantly making you question our relationship, constantly trying to make you do stuff that is single person shit, and I'm not available to go do that stuff with you, that shouldn't fucking be happening. Obviously, if that shit's more important to them, they've picked their friends and their single life over your relationship life, and that's controlling. Well, yeah, I control my fucking life. I have control over my life, just as she has control over my feelings, over my decisions, over what I decide to do with my life. She has control too. And if she's going to do that with that control and hurt me by doing things that are inappropriate and listening to other people, then you don't need that in your life, brother. These are some things that you need to focus on. Brother, it's okay to make that fucking that meme, that reaction, and out loud say it to a woman. Sometimes saying that out loud to a woman will snap them back to reality. Like, that's gross. I don't like that. That's just shit that I don't like. And describe it however the fucking vivid you want. Because once again, women understand emotional. My shorts are fucking ran up all the way my leg. Emotional language, rhetoric. They don't understand the logic. They don't understand boundaries. They don't understand being held accountable. They understand what you think and how you feel about it in relation to what they do. They can respect it. They cannot. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't taught that. But my brothers, this is something that I give you today. I hope it blesses you. Anything that you want to add before we finish up here? No thoughts on vetting? Any thoughts?
No, I think you pretty much like hit everything on the head as far as like, how giving advice to other people and how we've gone about our vetting, trying to find potential sister wives. It's just, it's just all like, it's just all a game that you have to play. You have to just listen to women's words. You have to watch how they treat other people, or
How they treat other people, yeah.
how they talk about other people, especially their, their exes.
So how they talk about their exes is very important. Always be listening. An important part of vetting is listening, not speaking. Just let them speak, let them talk. People will tell on themselves if you give them long enough. How they talk about their exes will reveal a lot about them. And don't take the women's word for it at their fucking face value, because women will bullshit, tell themselves, and start believing their own bullshit. It's crazy. It's crazy. I saw you like balancing, like you're like, is this gonna fall? Is this gonna fall? And not only will they believe their own bullshit, but they'll tell others, and those other peoples will carry water for the bullshit that they've said that was lies. And we'll go back, and that's how we go back to reputation destruction in the second segment that we were talking about, how women can cause irreparable damage to a man. These issues and more are worth addressing and strategizing, as Taylor put it, in a game type, to game something, to have a to game something out, to work something out, to have a strategy, so that you're not just floating through there and just fucking being caught off guard. When you go into chess, you played a couple times, you know that there's exchanges, you know the rules of the game, you know the pieces can be moved, and though you might be tricked and then somebody might have a slick move, it's not like, well, I didn't know that could ever not happen in the game. Like, the moves are the moves. Those pieces can move. They don't get any special imbuing powers. There's no cards that you can get to play, and there's special, like, And so it's time to look at it a little bit more closely with an analytical eye.
Um, yeah, just the way that they go about talking to people, also talking to people, like how they, like you were saying earlier, how they talk to um like, for instance, for me, I observed women how they talk to you, a lot of things. So, like you were saying earlier, let them tell on themselves. And a lot of women will slip up and say a lot of things that it's like, you're like, did you really mean to say that? Or,
Right.
what did you mean by this?
Right.
A lot of women, for instance, like across, have like, you'll mention the Bible. Like you mention like, oh, I'm really passionate about the Bible. I'm actually writing a book about that. And there's some women who be really receptive of that and be like, oh wow, like tell me a little bit more. And that will be like, okay, if she's interested in it, maybe she herself might be a Christian,
Right.
or some type of denomination where she's interested in wanting to know more about the Bible. Or if it's a negative um, reaction, then it's like, okay, then it's already okay. She's probably already having in her head, okay, I've been raised maybe possibly in a household where it was overbearing, religious household, and now I'm trying to stay away from that.
Right.
So I'm already getting the ick,
The ick, right,
the
right.
ick already from,
Because society has literally made them a feminist who hates God.
yes.
So, yeah, yeah, and then, but you have an opportunity there to bring a testimony and teach somebody the Bible. Women like to be taught. Women like to be taught, but at the same time, they they're trained to reject it. Oh, you oppressive! You're mansplaining. And so these are things that we're fighting against, but you can't be afraid of doing what it is. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Oh, also be wary of fake accounts.
be wary of
Or,
fake accounts.
or
Yeah,
fake
if you're
people.
talking to women on the internet, be wary of fake accounts. Use a reverse image search, and if you because they have changed that a little bit because of facial recognition software bullshit law, you'll have to go to websites like Facebook, no,
Check.
facecheck.id. They're out there, gentlemen. So if you sometimes you gotta check out these, make sure that they're not fake.
Ask the right questions, and
Ask the right questions.
you can kind of tell.
Make video calls. If this is not a person you met in person, video calls. Have them send an image of you of themselves with like the date or something and your name or something. Um, what else is important? If things get really serious, you can always do a background check. Those aren't that expensive. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's so much to do with vetting, but it really comes down to listening and letting them talk. Listening and letting them talk. They'll tell it on themselves. She was just alluding to it earlier, where women will be like, they'll say that they want to commit, but then they'll be like, I have commitment problems, or I couldn't commit with my ex, or I'm just looking for a good time. You know what I mean? They'll be wishy washy. They'll lie to you. They'll say it because they're impressed by you, or they want something from you, and they'll lie to you so they can literally, like, they'll act like men. Well, they'll lie to you to have sex with you. Um, and Unfortunately, it's a much more complex game than it might have been in years before and the generations before us, where they would, they go to the, we go to the soda shop, slash pharmacy slash diner of our town, and drink a malt, maybe a soda, and go on a walk, and I'll walk Cindy home. You know what I mean? That's not that shit anymore. Like young people are like told not to marry, even though people who get married young are more likely to be in longer marriages. What the fuck is that about? Guess what? They'd be in longer marriages too if they had an idea of polygamy, an idea of community around them to make sure that they stayed together, and condemned any kind of separation, especially when there's a family involved, and made sure that they stayed loyal to their duties and honored them, both sides, both men and women. Like, these things would be easier, especially for a young couple, especially for a young couple that are active Christians, because active young couple Christians who have a mind, like a minimum rather of 4 year age gap, are like, oh, they almost never divorce. In fact, 1% of people who pray every day together as a couple will divorce. 1% of people who pray together every day will divorce. So maybe start praying with your if they're about that life, pray with the people that you court. You know what I'm saying? Um, don't feel afraid to think out the box. You want to put them in an atmosphere where you can talk, and it doesn't have to cost money. You don't, maybe a movie after talking for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't go to a movie theater, so that's dumb. It's expensive, and one of you is gonna have to pay for something ridiculous. There's no good movies out there coming out anyway. Just watch an old classic movie, or a movie that neither of you seen growing up that had been one of the major hits in the era that it came from, and fucking talk through or after the movie. Like, it should be about talking and getting to know a person. This courtship. A lot of people are looking just to impress a person, do something fun while they're on that high of fun. Fuck them. I mean, yeah, like, that's easy. That's easy once you figure it out. Finding a wife is going to be hard. Not wasting your time on women that just want your shit is going to be hard. Fucking vetting that woman and finding a woman of significant value is going to be difficult, but it's all worth it once you've committed to this way, this path that has been set out in the Bible. Um, and I would recommend everybody that watches to embrace Yahshua, Jesus Christ, as their Savior, and the Father, Yah, His law. Embrace it and love Him and keep His commandments. And that will lead to at least the beginning of knowing what you need to do in any specific instance of courtship. It will let you know what to do, period, in your life, and what is good and what is wrong. But it will slowly help you understand what you need to do in normal, individual, microcosm, day-to-day life situations. Okay? So those are my suggestions. I always have more. If you want to message me on any social media, once again, Arthur Fantastic on IG, Arthur Fantastic 1K instead of IC. Holler. Subscribe star below if you want to join the community. Start building with me. Ask me questions. Start in this communicate in the uh, conversation, and help start raising money for a physical community where people can live together, buy a piece of land, put their shit down, have an extended family. This all comes down to um, love of God and following the Torah and doing what we think is right by Him. And I want to thank you once again. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for watching all the way through. If you've gotten to the end, like, comment, subscribe. Um, and I say, stay up, stay vigilant, stay locked and loaded. Shalom, shalom, peace in. Love y'all. See you later.